I've started down the rabbit hole of collecting Elden Ring stuff, and I can't stop now. Why, hello there. It is 109 days until Elden Ring comes out on January 21st, 2022, and this is the Elden Wait. This is an unscheduled episode of the Elden Wait because over the weekend, there were a few interesting things that came up that I wanted to talk about. The first is that Gamestop has a new Elden Ring promo ad. The second is that Kitao, the marketing director for Fromsoft, spoke at TGS with Famitsu about Elden Ring for a few minutes, and then I wanted to talk just briefly about a topic that came up from my previous video that has to do with Tarnished coming from other lands. So with that, let's get into it. Firstly, we have that over the course of the weekend, there were a couple posts on Reddit where GameStop managers and employees were posting up on the Elden Ring subreddit that Elden Ring has a new promo ad up at their stores. And this got a lot of people very excited, and I just wanted to break it down and just clarify a few things, just so everyone is more well informed. So GameStop has these new promos up in stores, and a manager from GameStop confirmed on Reddit that Bamco pays for these ad placements. However, that being the case, that means Bamco also paid for the previous ad placement, and as we know, that did not amount to anything, so I would take the presence of an ad placements to not mean that something is coming up very soon of importance, just that they are generally promoting Elden Ring, which is good news. And as you might know, I have behind me framed the previous GameStop ad, and it doesn't have a date, and neither does this new one for the release of Elden Ring. And I think in both cases, these are key art images in which they, received key art from Bandai Namco. Bandai Namco paid for an ad, and then using the assets available, they produce a little ad to put up above their racks of games. So it's interesting, and I would, if you're a GameStop employee, I would definitely be interested in getting one if anyone wants to hook me up. But I don't think it says anything huge, and is mostly interesting for weirdos like me who are, I've started down the rabbit hole of collecting Elden Ring stuff, and I can't stop now. So now to talk about the interview with Kitao. On a Famitsu/Dengeki TGS stream, Kitao spent a few minutes talking with Famitsu about Elden Ring, and we didn't get anything super new, but there were a few interesting things to note. This first thing to note is actually from an article by DualShockers, which translated the Famitsu interview and then made an article about it. And in that article, it's not a direct quote from Kitao, but it's a summary of a part of the conversation that says, "You have small and medium-sized dungeons spread on the open world like underground tunnel." This is interesting to me, specifically for the section that says underground tunnels. We are aware from the Gamescom demo that these small dungeons were shown primarily underground, not so dissimilar from this part of the leak trailer where you see someone going downstairs holding a torch, and that the map has an underground labyrinth section that you can toggle when you have the map up on your screen. All of this together makes me wonder if these smaller dungeons form an underground network of paths. A long time ago, I had heard stuff, and I'm not sure if Omnipotent posted it up or where he had it, but that there was an underground component and then it was for shortcuts throughout the world. I don't know of the necessity of these shortcuts if you do have fast travel available, but it is interesting to think about, and while the underground is still a mystery, the fact that these medium and small dungeons are talked about as these underground tunnels makes me think that they might go underneath the world of the lands between. And also regarding the map, the Google translation version of the Famitsu article said that Elden Ring's map has an unusual shape, and that fragments will be found to uncover it, the latter of which we've heard before, but I thought it was interesting that it was described as having an unusual shape. I don't know if that's anything significant, but it stuck out to me. And that was mostly in context of Kitao describing how you could go anywhere in the world and that it wasn't linear like previous titles, but I am curious of the actual landmass. We don't have a great idea of the actual shape and where you start off relative to other things, so it'll be interesting to see down the road. And probably the best information relayed by Kitao is that development is going along quietly and that they are near the end. So anyone who's worried can turn the panic down a notch. And most relatable of all in the interview, Kitao said that he, Miyazaki, and others were working on Sunday in the office, so that he's a bit tired and that he just wants to eat McDonald's. And I can relate to that mood hard. And finally, I just want to spend a quick moment talking about something that came out of the discussion from my previous video where I talked about the latest screenshot that came out. I talked about the Japanese character design of this samurai cooperator that you see in the latest image, and a few people brought up a good point that the Tarnished probably come from all over this world, so you'll see a diverse variety of armors and looks from the Tarnished. This makes a lot of sense, and From's other titles usually feature people coming from around the world to this land for whatever specific purpose, whether it's, the curse of the undead coming to Lordran, or if it's, coming to be cured in Yharnam. So it's not unusual for Fromsoft titles to employ this sort of setup. However, this left me thinking about the character from the leaked trailer, who I usually refer to as the Moon Boss, who looks very much like an Onmyoji, and they're shown in an arena and appear to be a boss. So it's not anything huge, but I think it tells us that this character seems Asian inspired, but the surrounding building doesn't look particularly Asian inspired. It looks pretty Western like the rest of the buildings we have seen for Elden Ring so far. So does that mean that this boss is a Tarnished? And they might be, it's all speculation at this point, but given what we know right now, that's the conclusion that I sort of reach. And that is interesting just because it gets my mind going about what the narrative and story of Elden Ring will take regarding these Tarnished coming from all over the world and coming to claim the Elden Lordship, and sort of the tension that may occur between the Tarnished as a result, and the different viewpoints of what to do with the power of the Great Runes in the Elden Ring. So that's what I have today, a short video just bringing together a few things, because who knows at this point when things may come up. So collecting a few things together, I wanted to address it now. And I have to say, being in October now, I'm a little bit on the edge of my seat seeing what will happen, because I think this month has to be big for Elden Ring. So we will see what happens come Friday. And until then, I will be looking for anything, and if there's new information that comes out, you can be sure there'll be a video. So make sure to subscribe if you want to stay on top of all the Elden Ring news, and give this video a like if you found anything interesting or you learned anything new. Thanks for watching.